All right, I'm gonna show you a couple simple ways you can turn your edits to be looking like this to be looking like this. And there's not that much of a difference other than it's CC and there's some other effects I'm gonna show you, but it just brings your edit to this a little bit higher standard, so it looks a little bit more interesting. All right, first we have the color correction, just a blue and orange tint like this. I have a video going over how I did it in this video here on the AMV basics, so if you want to go check that out, you can check that out there. Otherwise, we're gonna go inside of Fusion and see what we did here. All right, we have our node graph here. I have it in 3 different steps over here, and basically what we did for this scene is for this first one, if we view it, we did a depth blur. So before it looks like this, and now it looks like that. You can barely see it, but it is blurring it the outside radius that's over here, and so we're only focusing mainly on this part. So if I would undo that, and you can see all the detail in our hand. With the depth blur, we are guiding it more towards the place that we want to view it, which is over here. So everything over here is softer, which is less noticeable than what's over here, which is more sharper. So all we need to do is have a depth blur node like this, a depth blur, and then we can connect that to our graph over here. And then how do we choose where we want to see it? So we're going to add a background node and view that. Let's put that in our second viewer so we can see what it looks like. We're going to turn this from a solid color to a gradient, and then we change this gradient from linear to radial, and then we can flip the colors around on the gradient just like this. And then we're going to move this center of this gradient to her face over here, and then we can also edit it here and there. So we have a map that's like this, and this is going to be plugged into our depth map. So we're going to drag this, hold down Alt, let go, and put this in the blur image part of the depth blur so we can see where we're going to go. And then we're going to go up to our filter, going to go to super soften. That's going to be the type of blur that we're going to use. We're going to read a map that's on our black and white channel. So we're going to go to blur channel and put to Luma, and then we could turn our blur up like this, and then you can see, oh, it's the opposite way that we have it. So we can just go and turn this around like this, and now we have something like this. So there's no blur in the area that is on her face. Once you get to her hand, it's a little bit more blurrier, and you can turn this up as much as you want. Sometimes you just don't want it to be as noticeable, so I would bring it just maybe around halfway is all right. All right, the next step that we have is the overlay color of black and white. So just a background node is being merged on top of a merge node on the blending mode of overlay, which is allowing to have the bright parts of the whites and the dark parts of the darks be shown on the image, which gives the image a little bit more contrast. Because before we look at the scene, it's just very pale, it's not a lot of contrast. If we just, like, for example, if we turn it to black and white and we can see how light it is, and if we want to boost contrast, it would look a little bit more clear and more sharper. So that's what we're basically going to do with that merge over there. And even if I just do this, like even bringing this out a little bit more, you can see it's a lot more sharper, a lot more clear. So just bring up the contrast. It's not a bad idea, but I am going to do it with the merge node and blending this map on top of here. So we're going to add a merge node and then add another background node and put this here. We're going to turn it to gradient again. Let's view that gradient. And then this time we're going to put this, the sun is going up from the top, is a little bit more brighter. So we have the darker parts are going to be on the bottom. Bring this like that, and then tab, and then hit this over here. And now we have something like this. We bring this a little bit more down like that. And then if we do this over here, we could go to apply mode, and we want to do overlay because it does both. But I mean, you can even play around with the other modes like soft light and vivid light. I think overlay is fine, even though it's a little strong. We can turn this gain down, and we have something like this. Maybe we want to bring this up more, and then go over here, bring this back more. Maybe something like that. Let's see, let's compare. There's a halfway. This is halfway. Oh, they didn't do the gain. They did the blend. I did the blend, so I'll do that. Maybe something like that will work. Just play around with this a little bit more. Bring this over here. Maybe even putting that bright part way more off the screen, so we just have something like that. All right, and the last step I'm going to use is add a flare. So if you're in DaVinci Resolve Studio, you have this flare node that comes with DaVinci, where you can just add it used like that. But for all your free users, you have to go and get Reactor and get the lens flares by MiloLab, and it gives you a way to do flares like this. Let's compare it. There, that's the MiloLab one. It's the one from Resolve. It's a little bit different, but you need to use all these nodes in order to make it. There's a video that MiloLab made on how to make flares, so if you want to go and you're interested in that, go watch that video. But basically, we're going to add a flare to the last one we're going to use, and so I'm just going to add a lens flare, this and that, put that there, and then we could choose, we could bring this over here, maybe a little bit more above. I mean, I don't know, I don't even need the main flare over there. I just want like this over here, and then we could bring this blur a little bit more down. That works for me. From there to there, and then out to our color correction at the end. Now we have something like that. Nicer difference, a little bit more composited, and yeah,